What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to basketball. No shock, free agency's been pretty slow the past couple days, right? We're kind of just trickling along and getting the last couple names to fill out the last couple roster spots and everything, but we said we were going to do a comprehensive breakdown of free agency, meaning every little move that happens, we're going to be covering it in some capacity because it all fits in to the grand puzzle that these teams are trying to build. So today we're going to go over some of the more recent free agency signings. But hey, make sure you guys like, subscribe, and comment. I've responded to every single comment on my YouTube channel, and I intend to keep on doing so. But yeah, let's get into it. As in typical fashion, we're just going to be checking all the Woj and Shams tweets because they cover everything, which makes it kind of nice. Where we left off, it's currently the 11th. Have there really not been on many other ones since like the DeMar DeRozan thing, or have I missed them? Okay, no, I didn't go quite far enough. I did miss one. Haywood Highsmith coming back in a 2-year, $11 million deal to the Miami Heat. We weren't really sure what was going to happen to Haywood Highsmith. I'm guessing that there wasn't enough like interest in him to go get money from another team. So a team like with his bird rights already was kind of just going to have to be like, okay, we'll give him something. And I know the Heat wanted him back, obviously. Haywood Highsmith was a really nice player for the Miami Heat. Defense, right? Defense. That's what he does. He's a product of Heat culture where they've kind of developed him and self-grew him in some capacity. And obviously the three-point shot really started to come around after what it was a year and a half ago when he kind of started to play in the playoffs on the one run, and then yeah, he just really put it together this last season. So shout out Haywood Highsmith. He's going to be a good rotational player for them, maybe even start at points during the season. Like it's just a great deal for him, and another example of like why a good organization and good internal growth just gives you these easy moments of being able to bring back these nice self-grown players as role players for you. It's just it's so awesome what the Miami Heat can do. So shout out Haywood Highsmith. All right, now we can talk about Vit Krejci. I think that's how you say it, Krejci. I believe that's how like the Cech would normally say that name at least. I actually know somebody that knows him. I've never interacted with him, but long story short, I played with a Cech player at one point. But Krejci here, 4-year, $10 million deal to return to the Atlanta Hawks. This is another example of an yeah, he actually mentions it here, but like self-grown talent, right? A guy that a lot of people passed up on, kind of an interesting fit as a player because he's more of like a point forward type of guy, but yeah, he kind of plays the guard. But he's 6'8", right? So he can guard a couple different positions, shoots the shit out of the basketball, great attitude and like hustle guy for the Atlanta Hawks, and they're bringing him back on a really cheap deal. So this is an absolute win for the Atlanta Hawks and like their signing of him. I think he's a really nice player. Like I said, I just like the speed at which he plays, and I like his attitude, and he's a really tough dude. Just a nice guy to have next to a Trae Young at points during the rotation, as a guy that can continue to put the ball on the floor. Obviously the shooting is awesome, so really nice deal for the Atlanta Hawks in this one. All right, so most of free agency up to this point, I've been kind of talking about how I'm like, I haven't really seen like a bad move yet by any means, and I'm not going to necessarily say that this is a bad move, but this one raises a lot of eyebrows for me. So, and I'll explain exactly why. Sadique Bey, 3 years, $20 million contract with the Washington Wizards. So a little bit of background on Sadique Bey. Sadique Bey comes into the NBA through the Detroit Pistons, one of the few success stories that they were having. They're like, okay, we got this kind of stretch forward that can play like really physical defense. He's shooting the ball well and everything. They trade him out of nowhere in like the James Wiseman deal or something like that. They didn't really get anything all that interesting for him. He goes to Atlanta. You know, he's kind of hooping there. He's behind like a bunch of other guys in the rotation. He starts off this last season pretty solid, and then obviously he goes and tears his ACL, and it's like, oh shit, that was a contract year for him. What is he going to be able to do? And you're like, he's a really interesting physical presence. He's big and strong. You know he's talented, but it's just, you never know. Like, what kind of contract is he going to get after something like this? And a lot of people thought maybe he goes back to the Hawks or something like that on like a 1-year deal or something like that, kind of bets on himself. I personally thought Sadique Bey was going to use this opportunity to just be like, I'm going to go sign with like contending team that needs some depth. Insert whatever team you want there. Maybe Milwaukee, maybe, hell, he could have cracked the Boston rotation. I think Denver would have been an elite place for him to go to. Like, just insert any of those teams, right? And he would have fit in some capacity. And then you figure like, okay, he plays out the season. Hopefully he plays well and he goes and gets a big contract the next year or something like that because he's a nice young player. Well, in this case, Washington offers him, right? And I'm never going to fault a team for giving somebody the bag, right? Or fault a player because they want to go get paid, right? They offered him 3 years, $20 million. I can't imagine somebody offered him more than that, given his current situation. Not saying he can't be worth more, but we just don't know because he wasn't completely healthy, right? You never know how players bounce back from these things. it's just, to me, I don't understand the Wizards' reasoning behind it. Because here's the, at least the logic, right? Is like, I'm going to see people saying like, oh, well, he's a young guy, we can kind of bet on him for cheap, right? And it's like, okay, you kind of already had a guy in Denny that could kind of do this, and you eliminated him, but then you're like, oh, well, they wanted something else more, so they wanted to bring in another guy like this. But the Wizards just brought in all these young players, right, on a franchise that's extremely dysfunctional already, right? And you've got this style of play that was just, it wasn't even like basketball most of the time, and you still have a lot of that core like in place already. Like, it's not like the roster's gone through a ton of overhaul, but you're bringing in mostly like all these young rookies into this team that was already so dysfunctional, and now you're going to bring in another young guy that's on like his own personal journey of trying to get back to basketball and everything. It's just, it doesn't make like sense to me, like culture wise or like team building wise. Like, why not just add like a veteran or something like that to this team? Like, yeah, they went and got Valanciunas, which again, one of the more just kind of like maybe eyebrow raising moves, but it was kind of the same situation of like, okay, yeah, like he's getting his last paycheck, that makes some sense to me. And at least then they had like a legitimate like starting center out there, and I'm not saying that Alex Sarr can't be, and I think he probably is, but like, you know, you want to have a veteran that can go out there and actually like play center for you in the NBA, otherwise you're going to get smoked every night. And so I don't really understand this Sadique Bey one. Like, I don't understand why they need him in the rotation. Like, there's just kind of already like a logjam there. Maybe they plan on trading Kuzma at one point, but Kuzma said he wanted to stay, and like then they didn't trade him. So I don't understand it from that aspect. I'm concerned that they're not going to use Sadique Bey well, and then he's going to like fizzle out after this contract is done or something like that. And I don't know, but like, I don't blame him, because if that's the most money he was being offered, like, bro, go get your fucking money. You're going to get taxed like hell in DC. But like, man, I don't know. I don't understand it. Why, like, you just brought in all these young players, man. Bring in a vet. Like, bring in some vets. You need to do that to build these teams. You have to. Like, those are the teams that do it well, are the teams that go and get those vets. You have to do it. So I don't know. I don't understand it. And then today, Kyle Lowry's going back to the Sixers. Looks like a 1-year minimum contract. Kyle Lowry could have gone a bunch of different places. And the cool thing is, like, despite how old he is, what is he, 38 or 39 maybe this year? He could still contribute in, like, a limited role. Like, his defense was still, like, really good this season. And the shot is still pretty much there. He can still create a little bit. I just wouldn't use him for long stretches, right? Because he's just older. He's still going to be a good locker room guy. He's going to bring a lot of intensity on the court. Obviously, he has championship experience and everything. So this is an elite pickup for Philly, man. It continues to build on this problem that they have of kind of like really short players outside of center, which is maybe somewhat concerning for like switchability and things like that. But they do have a lot of like general length on the team, so maybe something kind of makes up for it there. I don't know. It's like, it's not a bad roster makeup. It's just like, it's maybe not completely like cohesive to what you would like hope for, but there's limited options at the end of the day, right? But I think Kyle Lowry's a good addition to the team. I think he's a good one to keep around, like just another good vet to have on a team like this, right? Like Eric Gordon, Paul George, Embiid, all these guys, right? That like Kelly Oubre, all guys that have been around the NBA for a minute now. That helps guys like Tyrese Maxey out a lot, and that's what you need at the end of the day. So I like the Lowry pickup for them. I wouldn't have minded seeing him on maybe like a different team or something like that in contention, but we're happy for Lowry. If you guys watched my video about like the best remaining free agents, you guys would have seen me talking about B-Ball Paul, and how in the video, you know, I was talking about like, hey, this is where like I think all these guys should go. I literally made a joke where I was like, yeah, like I'm like, he's not going to go to like a Detroit or something like that, but they went and picked him up. Reed is in the second season of a 3-year, $24 million deal. None of his contract is guaranteed. Shout out the people in the comments for bringing that one up, which I didn't really think about. That does make it like make a little bit more sense, because he can be a nice trade piece then. Just because it's hard to find good bigs in today's NBA, right? Or like playable bigs. And so he has value in that sense, but also like you can trade him to a team that's trying to get immediate like cap relief. So that's just a really powerful like chess piece at this point in the whole like the first apron, second apron game, right? So that's part of the value of B-Ball Paul. What role does he play for them in the meantime? Probably just the backup center role for them, right? Like it'll be Duren, and then B-Ball Paul, Isaiah Stewart's probably going to be stuck playing the 4 again, which is still just so bizarre to me. It seems like a lot of Pistons fans still want to trade Isaiah Stewart. I don't blame you for it. I'm just not a big beef stew fan. Like, I don't know, like his game doesn't really, like, it doesn't jive with me all that well. Like I like some things that he does. It's just, I don't know, like he's not the archetype of player that I like to coach. So that's just me. But what is B-Ball Paul going to bring you? Well, he's obviously a little bit undersized, but he still plays good defense. Like he can go switch on the perimeter and stuff like that because he's a little bit more nimble. I wouldn't say he's got like elite rim protection or anything like that, but you know, he's going to be tough with people. He's going to be physical and things like that. And he's a decent backup center to have in the NBA. If you're the Pistons, does this really help you win that many more games? No, not really. But I do think it was a nice like value pickup. And like I said, he can be used as a trade piece. So it's not maybe as weird as I thought it was at first. But like, I don't know. I'd like to see them get like a little bit more size on the team and a little bit more general rim protection. But again, then I have to answer the question of who was that answer. And I don't have a good answer for you. So this is probably the best case scenario. And this deal was very fresh. Josh Okogie got a 2-year, $16 million deal. Man, NBA money is just crazy nowadays. Josh Okogie getting that, huh? That is crazy. The 6'4" defender had multiple teams interested and reached a new Suns deal on Thursday. That doesn't mean that people were offering him like more money or anything, or it's probably maybe less even. But Josh Okogie, we all know the Josh Okogie story. Plays great defense. Doesn't really do much else. He crashed the glass pretty hard, so I should give him some credit there. Like, the effort's always really good, but teams have just stopped guarding him from three completely, and he will not hit those open shots. Like, it just does not fall. If he could hit an open three, holy shit, you have something then. But, like, teams leave him butt naked out there, and they dare him to take him. They're not falling. They're just not. But you love the effort nonetheless on a team like the Suns. You need guys like this out there in the court. You'd hope that they can contribute a little bit more with the resources that you have and the fact that you're in the second apron. You had to bring some of your own dudes back, and Okogie was probably one of the more valuable ones. So I think it was a good move for the Suns at the end of the day. And it doesn't say like, oh, Okogie's deal is non-guaranteed in the second season. Oh, fuck yeah, then who cares, right? Like, you can always just move off of him then if like you need to blow the team up for whatever reason. Like, no, this is a great move in that sense. So they bring Okogie back. He'll be a nice versatile defender to have out there. Give a little bit of a spark. So yeah, shout out them. But yeah, that's my pretty quick free agency update. Not anything all that crazy right now. We're really like, what dominoes are we waiting for at this point? Like, we're waiting for maybe a Brandon Ingram deal, and then like maybe a Lowry marketing deal. I don't see a Lowry marketing deal happening. Like, the Jazz want to win at all times, man. There's an ambulance going by, so if you hear that, that's what that is. Okay, I'm gonna wait a second. All right, anyway, yeah, no, the Jazz are pretty set on just like winning games at all times. Like, that's how their culture is set up, and I respect them a lot for doing so. Like, maybe they haven't been in like title contention for a while, but you know, it always keeps them pretty interesting. And I think at the end of the day, once you do get the players in place, it's just really beneficial that that's already like the standard, right? You don't have to build that in, because I think the culture building is honestly one of the hardest parts of this industry that people just don't really talk about. But no, at the end of the day, I don't really know what other big dominoes are gonna fall. Like, I don't see the value of really trading Brandon Ingram necessarily either. Like, it just depends on what you get, and I don't really know what you're going to get that's that much better at this point, especially now that you kind of have the point guard position locked down. But regardless, it'll be interesting. We'll be there to cover this. Maybe it's the last free agency video for a while, but otherwise, it's Summer League time, y'all, and I'm going to be making sure I cover Summer League in its entirety, and I'm going to go record a video about it right now. Thanks so much, y'all. Bye.